Empty the chamber on them. And how do you do that? First 6 seconds, point A to point B, everything you got. Everything you got. Turn that shit up. Let's go.
Welcome to Scoop World Order. It is game day. We are live. It is time to go. It is go time. The kids are up and stirred up in the Blackwell Hotel. They are going through their morning meetings, probably had some breakfast, morning walkthrough. They're going to get a nice little break, about 2.5 hours in the middle of the day. And then another round of meetings, team meal, and then they're going to be off to the skull session and then into the stadium. And it is time for war. So it is time to go. We got to see a lot of familiar faces on that Notre Dame sideline. We're going to see Marcus Freeman, former Buckeye, James Laurinaitis, Al Washington. Some really, Al coached here last few years. And obviously James was a fantastic player here and Marcus played here too. So it's going to be an interesting night tonight. I'm excited about it. Tall task for Marcus in his first, I know he coached the bowl game, but this is his first regular season game. Playing the number one offense in the country. So good luck. That being said, as always, we are thankful for you guys. We're grateful for you guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting this content. Leave us a like. Who's your MVP tonight? That's the comment I need. Give me an MVP on offense, an MVP on defense. Who's going to stand out to you? That's what Nevada and I are about to talk about. Super excited about this one. But as always, leave us a like. Subscribe to the content and give us that comment. Who's the MVP on each side of the ball for the Buckeyes tonight and what will be a huge win for the squad? With that being said, bringing in my friend Nevadabuck. Nevada, how are you today?
Doing great. So excited. Big game, big night, great crowd. People have been amped up for this thing for a long time, and it just feels great to have college football. This is officially the opening of college football with a big game like Ohio State, Notre Dame, so the day doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah, just to get the good juju flowing, if you are watching this on YouTube, I am playing the Rose Bowl. Pretty much everybody you see on the field is back and starting tonight, with the exception of Thayer Munford, who I actually spoke to 2 nights ago, and I congratulated him for making the Oakland Raiders as a 7th-round pick. That is a tremendous accomplishment. He had a fantastic camp. He's in the running to start at right tackle. He'll definitely be dressed on game days. Super excited for Thayer. But him and Jeremy Ruckert are about the only 2 guys that you'll see in this film that aren't going to be playing for the Buckeyes. They're both in the NFL now. But, Nevada, there's been a lot of talk this offseason about hardening up the unit, hardening up the football team. The S word was thrown around a lot last year in terms of the team becoming a soft unit. When they ran into tougher outfits like Michigan and tougher outfits like Oregon, that had equal talent, they got pushed around a lot. I mean, there's no other way to say it. How do you think that is going to affect the team going forward? They've had 9 months of being ridiculed about the Michigan game, ridiculed about the Oregon game, being called soft. I think that there's kind of a fever pitch building in the Blackwell Hotel right now. But give me your thoughts on that. I'd love to hear what you have to say about the direction of the program and what we can expect tonight from our defense.
Well, there's a lot of talk about bulletin board material and motivation and things like that. And a lot of times I think it's hokey. I think it's, I don't think it's real serious. And I think fans get more excited about it than the players do. But I think in this case, the defense knows what's been said about them. The defense has heard it. They've read it. They've heard it from their friends at home. They've heard it from their family. They've seen it on social media. They can't escape it. It's been everywhere. And the fact that there's been just wholesale changes on the staff really brought it home to them. These guys lost their jobs because they could not get this defense to play better, to be tougher, to be more physical. And Ryan Day's heard it for all this time too. So he's well aware of it. So I think in this particular case, this is one where I think the motivation factor is definitely going to be at a 10 on a scale of 10 for them to kind of turn that thing around and prove that thing wrong. And one of the things we've always talked about, though, is you are what you practice against. And, that's why teams like Michigan and Wisconsin and Iowa, I'll just talk with like Wisconsin and Iowa, those teams are going to be tough every year. It doesn't matter who the players are. It doesn't matter who the coach is. It doesn't matter. They're going to be tough. They're going to be tough on both sides of the ball. They may not be talented. They may not be, top of the Big Ten or national championship caliber, but they're going to be tough. And that's because they practice tough. They practice against a tough running game. So that defense sees that week in and week out, and it toughens them up. And so both sides of the ball become tough. And Ohio State, you know, they had a lot of great passing weapons last year. They became a little pass happy. There were games where we were throwing the ball 40 and 50 times. And when you do that, there's an inevitable softness that comes with that. And that's why teams that are air raid like Texas Tech or the other squads or Hawaii, they're not generally known as tough teams. They may be finesse, they may be high scoring, they may throw the ball a lot, but it's almost impossible to be a tough defensive team and to be a pass happy offensive team. You just rarely, if ever, I can't think of many times, if ever, that I could ever even see that. So I think for Ohio State, they've made a concerted effort to get back to their basics, to running the ball more, to being more physical, starting in practice, going out, and I think the result is a much tougher football team on both sides of the ball. And I think Ryan Day is going to put that on full display tonight. And that's why I think they're going to come out and establish the run against Notre Dame and try to establish a physical tone, because that physical tone will permeate the entire game and the entire game plan for what they're doing. I think that the word for the day is going to be physical and physicality, and I think it's going to show out tonight against Notre Dame.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that establishing the running game, it's not just important just to prove that we can run the ball and get the tough yards. It's also a great way to get the young offensive linemen who are, you have Donnie Jackson making his first career start. You got PJ making his first start at tackle. Obviously, he started at right guard for us last year. Matt Jones has had spot starts, but it's his first time as being the guy instead of being a spot starter. So, a way to alleviate some of the pressure and kind of get some of the cobwebs out to start the game is to run the ball. It's like, let these guys come off the ball, let them get some hits on number 7. Isaiah Foskey, who I think is a tremendous player. He's a kid that would start at Alabama. He would start at Georgia. He'd start anywhere. I mean, he's that good. I think he's a top 20 or so, top 20 or so pick in the draft. He's a 6'5", 265, and let PJ get his hands on him and push him around a little bit. Let DeJuan do that. Let these guys come off the rock and grind a little bit, as opposed to always vertical setting and having to absorb the blow. Let him be the hammer instead of the nail. And I think that the line loves that. I think getting Trey and Mine going early is huge. I think even, as good as CJ Stroud is, and I'm not saying he'd ever be nervous, but it's like, it always helps to, let him hand it off a few times, and then he can start chucking it to Jackson Smith and Jigba and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Cade Stover and Julian Fleming and Emeka Ibuka and the likes. But I think, in terms of helping the defense, if the defense is shaky, which I don't think they will, because I don't think that Notre Dame has the firepower to threaten us, even though I did project that they could score 35 points against us. I think that the running game is a great way to get the defense off the field, burn some clock, keep them fresh, so they're not on the play. You're not on the field for 75, 80 plays. And it's a great way to, shorten the game. So I always feel like, teams that pass the ball and they don't move the clock, they don't run the clock, they leave their defense out on the field for 85, 90 plays because the clock doesn't move like it does with a running team. So it's going to be fascinating to watch. I think that, we have obviously superior talent. Every time we've played Notre Dame, we've ran past them for the last 4 times. So I don't expect there to be anything different. I think we have better athletes. And I think that Ryan's going to take shots, because the best way to open up the passing game is to throw it deep. Maybe take a shot to, a Jaden Ballard or a Jackson Smith and Jigba, like start it off early. Like let Jaden get involved. Have him run a 9 route and say, hey, it's coming to you. As long as we protect it and you get open, it's coming to you. And, no one's going to be looking at him when there's, when you've got Jackson Smith and Jigba and Marvin Harrison Jr. out on the field at the same time. So he's going to be the guy that's going to get the benefit from that. If they let him rotate in with Julian, at the Z. Nevada, talk a little bit about the saltiness of the defense. You got a report from this morning in the Blackwell about the team and some of the kind of the mood of the team. But give me a little bit about what you heard and let's let it rip, because I was really excited when you told me about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a salty group. I mean, it's, they're looking to make a statement tonight. I think the game plan, and this is a really important distinction here, and this is one of the reasons why I think Day brought in Knowles, is Day realizes that the game has changed. College football today is not the same as it was 20 years ago, certainly not the same as it was 40 years ago. And the name of the game is possessions. And when you've got a high-powered offense, what kills you is when the other team can take the ball, control the clock for 15, 16, 18-yard drives, kind of like what Michigan did to us last year, 7.5 yards a carry for the game, 9.5 yards a carry for the second half, and just grind the ball and keep the ball away from you and keep you from scoring. And the modern game is more like Madden. It's like sometimes it's better for the other team to score so you get the ball back, so you have a chance to score yourself. And I think when you think it through that way, you kind of go, well, how does that impact your defensive calling? How does it impact what you do defensively? And what you do is you take more chances defensively. You blitz more. You bring guys from all over the field. And you know what? If you give up the big play and they score, you know what? Your offense trots up back on the field. And you want Ohio State wants the game to be a track meet, and Notre Dame wants the game to be a fist fight and a phone booth. And so I think for Ohio State, they can dictate that by their defense, their defensive pressure. And I think that you're going to see them bringing guys from all over the field. And I think one thing I want the fans to watch for in particular, this is a guy that was much maligned last year, a guy that I loved coming out of high school, and he has improved so much. And that's Tommy Eichenberg. Tommy Eichenberg, in the last testing, busted off a sub 4.640. Yeah, so you heard me right. It's a sub 4.6. It might have been 4.59, might have been 4.58, whatever. But Tommy Eichenberg can run. And Tommy Eichenberg is going to be a wrecking ball out there tonight, especially against that Notre Dame running game. Watch Tommy Eichenberg tonight. I think you're going to be in for a treat watching him. I think he's a special, special player.
Yeah, Tommy's the guy that really dedicated himself to his training. He really worked, heavy squats and explosive lifts to gain speed. I think it's paying dividends. If you're a guy that puts a lot of force on the ground with your squats, with your power cleans, with your hang cleans, you can really develop more explosion. Because I think that he heard a lot of noise about how he was slow. I think that the comparisons to Tuff Borland are not fair. I mean, Tuff was a nice player, but I think Tommy is a much better athlete than Tuff was. But, they're two white linebackers playing in the middle, so people think they're the same thing, and they're not. But I think Tommy is a guy that I'm really looking forward to. I know Jim Knowles has sung his praises ever since he got here. Was talking about him as early as March about how he's a leader and he's a sharp kid, but he is tough as nails. And, I think some of these guys, they're going to shock some people with their speed and their mobility. I mean, I really think Tommy's going to have a nice year. I think him and Steele, I had a source tell me there's a reason why there wasn't really any competition at linebackers, because those guys have been playing really good in camp. Steele and Tommy have been they've been lights out, and they're flying to the ball and they're getting there. And, you didn't hear was Cody Simon or Chip Travium, are they going to start? There was no rotation. Those guys were bringing it every day. They're focused. I know there's a little core group of guys that are in the team that are really, really tough guys, or war daddies. I mean, Tommy's he's a captain. Cade Stover's a captain. Some of these guys are tough dudes, and that's what we need to get back into the program. And I think, when I talked to Jim Trussell this week, he said, you get what you emphasize in training camp. And, the biggest emphasis in training camp was running the ball and stopping the run, because we were so poor at that versus teams with equal talent last year. So it's going to be really interesting to see if the camp Ryan Day and his assistant coaches ran will make us more proficient in the areas that we are working at. So I really look forward, Trey Henderson in year 2, I think is going to take a huge Ezekiel Elliott type leap. Ezekiel obviously didn't play much as a freshman when Carlos Hyde had a fantastic senior year in 2013. But, in 14, Ezekiel, he started off good, and then he got really good, and then he was fantastic down the stretch as we won a national championship. I kind of look for that for Trey. Obviously, I expect him to start faster than Zeke did in 2014. And Trey's, he's already got more in front of him based on his freshman year outstanding record-breaking performance. Nevada, as we count down the hours to kickoff, we are about 7.5, 8 hours away. What are you looking for? What are you hoping to see in the first game? How are you feeling about some of the numbers? 17.5, the over/under. Where are you at right now mentally with some of the betting? Where are you at with what you're looking to see out of the team? And give me the first 5-10 minutes of the game.
Where I'm at right now is I'm taking Ohio State, laying the points and playing the over. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think Ohio State's going to take some chances. I think the first 5 minutes of the game are going to be Trey Henderson left, Trey Henderson right. I think even C.J. Stroud. I know a lot of people are going to fall off their chairs right now and be like, Nevada, please don't say this. But I think even C.J. Stroud's going to get into the act with a run, and just again to set that physical tone, to kind of set that constraint for Notre Dame, to just give them one more thing to think about. I think we're going to come out and physically, I think we're going to dominate Notre Dame. I think the game will be close for a half, but I think Ohio State pulls away, puts on a show tonight, and I'm still sticking with my 45-17. I think that comfortably covers the number, goes over, and I think everybody goes home happy tonight, and Ohio State makes a statement to the world. And I just think it's gonna be just a great night of college football, and I'm just can't wait for it to kick off.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about it. I picked 55-35, and a lot of people were frustrated with the fact that I picked such a high number as 35. And I don't really think it's as much of an indictment on Ohio State's defense as just the scores I've seen across college football, where you see these teams that are there's a lot of points being scored in college football right now, and I personally believe it's because of the lack of tackling in training camps. Their defenses have never looked worse; they've never played worse. You watch the Pitt West Virginia game was extremely high scoring. You watch some of the other games, the Penn State game, Purdue was high scoring, a lot of turnovers, a lot of crazy stuff happening. So, the 35, and that might be a touch high just with a freshman, or a quarterback, a sophomore making his first career start. But, Jim Knowles' defense, I think that he has the best athletes by far that he's ever coached, but it might take a minute to get them all lined up and get everything corrected and get everything smoothed out. And Notre Dame, they scored points in their bowl game. I know they have a new quarterback, and they have a lot of missing players at wide receiver, but I mean, they scored points in their bowl game against Oklahoma State. So it wasn't like that was a 14-10 game. That was like a 37-34 final score. So, do I think that they're going to score 35? I hope not, but I predicted 55-35. I think that, obviously C.J. Stroud is going to have one of those, 400 yards, 6 touchdown. Everyone will move him to the top of the Heisman power ranking type performances. I think that, as long as we control Isaiah Falsky, he is the key to the game. If our guys can block him, and if initially, if they figure out they can't block him, they get some help on him, then we're going to be fine. Because I don't think their back end is good. I don't think that, obviously, they can't run with our receivers. I think our guys are supremely motivated. That's kind of the only good thing in life about losing to Michigan is you really don't have to worry about motivating these guys again, because they've heard it every single day since the loss from people in Columbus, people on the internet, people in social media, dogging them out. So these guys are fiercely motivated. They're angry, and I look forward to seeing what they do to a Notre Dame team, which really I think is kind of a paper champion with how lofty their ranking is. I don't think that their talent and their staff warrants ranking that high, but it is what it is. That's why these preseason polls aren't really worth much, but they're good for a matchup like this. It's exciting, and they're going to start off at 5, and I think they're going to get drubbed tonight. So we're going to wrap this thing up. Nevada, any closing thoughts as we count down to kickoff on BuckeyeScoop.com?
Nope, just Buckeye Scoop's a great place to hang out. Great place to hang out during the game, after the game. You want to hear what's going on before the game. You want to figure out what happened during the game. BuckeyeScoop.com is a great place, great community. One final little nugget I'll say, you talked about how good the Notre Dame defensive ends are and how they like to get up the field. Well, the one way you might combat that would be like a shovel pass to the tight end. So that might be something. I'll just call that, it'll be Nevada's special nugget. I'll say look for a shovel pass to the tight end to kind of slow those defensive ends down, and we'll see if that happens tonight.
That is always a great call in the short red zone. Obviously, it was called the Shelley Shovel under Urban Meyer. That was her favorite play. He used to run a lot at Utah. Ran it at Florida with Aaron Hernandez. The Kansas City Chiefs run it a ton with Travis Kelce. It's something where you read the defensive end, you down block it, pull a guard, read the defensive end, and if you run it right, it's a really hard thing to defend, especially if you get the look you want. And generally, you want to run that to like a nose guard, not a 3 technique. But if you get a nose guard, the thing's gonna be wide open. So, with that being said, as always, we appreciate you guys so much. BuckeyeScoop.com, you got to join it up today because we have the game thread is already cooking. We've already got I think over 6,000 views on the game thread. The game hasn't even started yet, so it's gonna be the biggest game thread in the industry. We are cranking content every day, inside information, nuggets, The best recruiting content from Bill the Bank Green, the king of South Florida. We've got a great team. We have an even better community. Our community is fantastic. The sharpest minds in football. We have a great gambling thread if you guys are into that. We'd love to have you. You should try BuckeyeScoop.com. If you try it, you might love it. And I'm telling you, most people, once they get in here, man, they don't leave because they really enjoy the content and they really enjoy the camaraderie of our board. That being said, give me your MVPs on offense and defense for the Ohio State Buckeyes today. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I hope you guys have a great game day. Go Bucks, beat Notre Dame. Have a great day.